Yo, what is up guys? It's your boy Duck and D Fields, and today we'll be talking about domain expansion from Jujutsu Kaisen. And before we get into anything, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. There will be more anime voiceover content in the near future. But let's get started. Domain expansion. What is a domain expansion? Domain expansion is an advanced barrier technique that manifests the user's innate domain and traps their target inside using a barrier wall to create a separate space. Once inside, the user's curse techniques are improved and cannot be avoided. Throughout the series, many characters, a limited amount of characters use their domain expansion in the anime, but you can see a little bit more within the manga. If you're one of those, extra nerds that like to read the manga, which I am myself. Moving on, appearance. On the outside, the barrier just looks like a big black orb slightly floating above the ground. I'm not gonna lie, the orb kind of looks like one of the black chakra balls from Naruto, in which the tailed beast would gather like their chakra and then shoot it out of their mouths. Naruto is also one of my favorite animes, but the orb just kind of resembles those chakra balls so much. But anyway, let's move on. Basically, the domain varies for each user when the appearance on the inside is shown. It's usually something related to their abilities or a certain appearance to them. For example, Mahito's domain expansion puts the target literally in the palm of his hands, as the domain contains a bunch of hands surrounding the enemy. Definitely not the coolest looking one, but it's very unique to the user, and honestly it's a bit creepy. Alright, so now let's get into the positives and negatives of domain expansions. And first, let me say this. You have to be one extremely advanced and bad motherfucker to even have a domain expansion within the series. Honestly, in the series, there aren't that many people that are able to conjure up a domain, but for the people that can use this great power, there comes some boost advantages when facing an enemy. While inside the domain created by the user, their jujutsu is amplified damn near to the max, and if you clearly have more power than your opponent when using a domain expansion, then it's pretty much an easy dub. I should also mention that when a user creates a domain expansion, they have a guaranteed hit on the foe. Well, most of the time. And moving on to the negative parts. With all these positives, you're probably thinking, well, what are the drawbacks of this technique? I'll tell you. Domain expansion requires a lot of cursed energy. For example, if you run a marathon, which is extremely tiring already as is, you're going to be extremely depleted. And if a buddy asks you, like, hey, you want to go play some pickup, some basketball after that? You're like, no, man, I'm fucking exhausted. And so just kind of imagine what these sorcerers are going through as they're using this domain expansion. And if it doesn't work after they use that, most of the time they're really tired. Now I must say this does not apply to Satoru Gojo because somehow he can create multiple domains in a day. An extremely OP character, I know. But for regular users, the innate technique is also unstable for a short period of time after their domain is done. Like I said before, some domains are not complete, so they cannot fully form a barrier, and their power is only boosted to I'd say about 50 to 75%. And the hit in the domain is not always guaranteed. Now there are some countermeasures when dealing with a domain expansion. If the user you are battling casts a domain expansion, it may seem like they've already won, but if your domain is stronger than that of foes, then you will be at the advantage. But you see, let's say if you're fighting Gojo, then using a domain expansion is pretty much pointless because he would totally wipe the floor with literally anyone in this anime or this series, or if you're reading the manga, whatever. But then there is also a way in which you can escape a domain or open a hole for someone else to come into while the current domain is being cast. This part gets a little tricky within the manga because honestly I didn't really understand what was going on, but it's really hard to explain. But so basically there was a domain cast, and I'm not trying to spoil a lot, but someone entered the domain with their own domain expansion. I don't really remember how it worked, but I have a bad memory, so whatever. Let's just keep moving on. The thing is though, if you have a buddy on the outside of the domain, and so say you're with a friend, but you get put inside of an enemy's domain, and you're like, oh shit, you're not as powerful, and you're like, oh, this is fucked up. But if your buddy is on the outside just fucking beating in like Yuji Itadori does, then he can literally break through that domain, because on the outside, which is it's kind of strange, the outside of the domain is not really that strong. So I feel like it's kind of a plot hole within the series, because I feel like anybody could just, punch through their domain or whatever, but it is what it is. That was just a nice little rundown about domains and domain expansion within the series, anime slash manga. I didn't want to spoil too much, just because I know some people will get irritated about that, whatever. But if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much, and make sure to leave a like or comment. Jujutsu Kaisen is a really great anime, and the manga just keeps getting better. I'm literally can't wait until the next volume drops. But the thing is, I'm not saying that this anime is going to replace, the big three, but the series is heading towards the right direction. It's a great series, honestly. And if you haven't started it, I highly recommend, you give it a look. You watch the anime, you watch it in sub, watch it in dub, read the manga. It's honestly funny, it's action packed, heartbreaking, fucking literally all the above. It just checks all the boxes. The animation is great. The author is a really funny guy. He always leaves like little side notes on within the manga, and it's great. But anyway, let me just shut up. I feel like I went over way longer than what I wanted to with this video, but hey man, I hope you guys are gonna have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.